Okay, hi everyone. I'm Pedro Moura, your host for today's session at Semana de Empreendedorismo de Lisboa, hiring in Lisbon session. We have Joana in the background giving logistics support. Our guests are also waiting to join us in the panel. For today's session, I'll start with a small introduction uh, about hiring in Portugal. So I'll share my screen, and I expect to spend around 5 minutes in this. Let me just share my screen. Sorry a bit. Confirm me that the screen is being well seen.
Yes.
Joanna?
Yes, we're seeing everything. You can go.
Okay, so for today's session, this is just the introduction for the session. We'll have a panel with our guests afterwards. So the topic for today is creating tech teams in Lisbon, why and how. We want to thank Semana de Empreendedorismo de Lisboa and Câmara Municipal de Lisboa for inviting us for this session. It's always a pleasure to be and to make a part of this great event. So first of all, and in good Portuguese, welcome or bem-vindos. As we will see, and I hope you'll know, Portuguese are very welcoming people, and this is one of the most important traits that we have. So for today's session, you'll have me doing the introduction, and you'll have a panel with Nuno Caleia from Câmara Municipal de Lisboa, Dália Turner, VP of People at Feedzai, Marcus Kramer, Managing Director at Enfon, Diogo Cruz from Invest Lisboa, and again myself. Sorry for the repetition. The introduction here is kind of simple, and I'll go quickly over it. So it's not a surprise that information technology is key to the success of companies now more than ever, and having the right talent, it's paramount. It's fundamental. Companies need progressively to address this challenge internationally because local talent it's getting scarce. Well, tech talent it's getting scarcer everywhere, not just locally, but especially locally. And the topic for this session is Lisbon is really becoming a top source of tech talent and also a destination for companies to extend their IT capacity by creating teams, opening tech centers here. So this session and this ebook, the ebook that is in the base for this session is about why Lisbon is such a good option for companies to open tech centers or hiring teams here and how to do it. So a small publicity part for this ebook. So you can get your free copy at hiringinportugal.com. So this ebook was a joint effort by a lot of people led by Landing.Jobs. We thank obviously all our partners, ICEP, Startup Portugal, Invest Lisboa, the Municipality of Porto, Invest Porto, and the People magazines. And it has a quite broad spectrum of information regarding everything that a company needs to know to decide and then to open tech centers or hire tech teams in Portugal. So if you'd like, we'll share this link also in the chat afterwards. I think you have a link in the bottom of the screen. Please download it, take a look. I think it's a very interesting publication. Then why Lisbon in Portugal also? One of the things that is most looked for nowadays is that the location, it's like real estate, location, right? In Portugal, it's in a very good location to be an international for tech teams and tech centers because in a 4-hour window, you have from New York to the Middle East. And besides the geographic location, the cultural location, it's also very important. Portugal, it's one in the Portuguese people. It's kind of bragging about myself and the Portuguese, but linking people from different cultures and dealing with people from different origins, etc. It's second nature to us. We are one of the most, I would say, diplomatic country that we have in our world. But going to more specific things about hiring in Lisbon in Portugal. First of all, we have very good English proficiency. So it's not a surprise for foreign people that knows Portugal that it's very easy to go along and to communicate in Portugal. And this is not only on a conversational level, when you go for a professional level, this is also true. And we have rankings that attest this argument. Another one, and also very important because more and more tech talent look for quality of life, not just quality of work. It's that we have a very sunny country and a very warm country also in terms of temperature. And we can go for, if you are in Lisbon, for example, you have a beach 10-15 minutes from the center of the city. So there is a lot of great things about Portugal, about Lisbon, to recommend when it comes to quality of life. One very important thing, even though it's obviously somewhat debatable, it's the low cost of living, especially when you compare it with other European countries more in the northern Europe. It's fairly affordable to live in Lisbon, both for food, for accommodation, and for a lot of other things. As I usually say to my foreign friends, having a beer in Portugal, it's just something that, well, it's very cheap. A very important thing is that safety and stability is also paramount. We are, for example, one of the major talent migration chains that exists from, for example, Southern America to Portugal, because people are more and more looking for countries where safety and stability are given. And one curious thing is that Portugal is classified as the third most peaceful country, but the thing is that the first two positions are New Zealand and Iceland. So there are islands. We are a continental country. So this is just an interesting fact. Strategic location, as I've said in the beginning, the location is it's very important, and we are effectively an athletic and world hub for a lot of locations crossing Americas, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So this is very relevant when it comes to assessing location, and Portugal and Lisbon is very relevant for that. Another thing that comes in some way as a corollary of all this, it's that a lot of companies, international companies, have been in the past few years and still are opening, setting shop in Lisbon, setting shop in Portugal, opening their IT centers, creating tech teams. And we're talking about some of the most large and most relevant companies that there are, from classic corporates to scale-ups and even startups. And then that's tech talent. So this is obviously the main goal of all of this. Portugal has a great tech talent pool. We are always creating new tech professionals. And one very interesting thing is not just the local Portuguese talent, it's also the talent that is coming more and more to reside in Portugal as their living place. For example, if you go to Google and search for best destination for digital nomads, you'll see in the top 10 Portugal. It's always on the top. In top 10 results, you have always Portugal in the top 10 positions in each one of those sites. And in a lot of them, it's number one. So this is because of something. It's that it's good for tech talent. They like to live, to come to Portugal, to make a living here. Then obviously you have the affordable salaries. I don't like to stress this point as the most relevant one, but obviously it's always factored in an equation to make a decision regarding opening a tech center or creating a tech team here. And then, well, this is again a bit of publicity, but we, and by we, I mean Landing.Jobs and all the partners and the Lisbon municipality, make it as easier as possible for you, an international company, to establish your own shop in Portugal. A bit more just about Lisbon and why Lisbon is inevitable when you talk about creating tech teams. Lisbon has 40% of Portugal's tech professionals. So it's the capital of the country, of course, but it's also the most dense region in terms of tech talent. And this is because Lisbon is, as I've told you, a strategic gateway to and from European, American, and African continents, but also because we have a very strong entrepreneurship and academic ecosystem in Lisbon. We have this also, obviously, in Portugal, but Lisbon, it's the focus of the startups and of the universities that work in tech. The quality of living, we have talked about it. We always say, if you have doubts about living in Lisbon and how good Lisbon is for living, just spend some days or a week here, and I think that you'll be enchanted by it. And then also very important, top-level infrastructures. I always like to say this. It's a bit bragging, but I have a lot of people living in England, for example, and they say, okay, when you talk about, for example, internet infrastructure and high-band connections, etc. Well, man, Lisbon in Portugal, it's the way to be, the place to be, not in England, in a lot of other parts. And again, specifically in Lisbon, there's a growing number of international companies, big companies creating test centers in Lisbon. So I would say that this is probably the most important trust factor for a company thinking about opening, creating a tech center or a tech team somewhere else besides their original geography when considering Lisbon. A bit more quantitative data. So this is a data that we gathered from a survey that Landing.Jobs has done in Portugal for all tech professionals. So this is more or less the range of salaries for a Portuguese developer in Portugal, not just Lisbon. So it compares obviously very well against other countries and cities. The thing is that obviously with the pressure that is existing regarding sorry, my daughter has right, regarding the need for tech talent, this is increasing, but that's natural. This is just a bit of the composition of the salaries by tech role, from CTOs to computer network security. So all this information, it's in the Hiring in Portugal ebook, and also I'm going to share this presentation also. It's in the Tech Career Survey that has a lot of much more detailed information regarding not just salaries, but what tech talent in Portugal look for, what are their specialities, experience, if they work as contractors or as permanent employees. So lots of good information for the ones that are interested in it. And this is one of the most sought for information. It's the salary brackets for technical job roles by experience. I'm not going to go over this with you. You can check this out later in the presentation or in the documents that I've just mentioned you, but you have, I would say, a lot of the information that is needed to support a decision about creating tech teams or hiring in Lisbon. Finally, in this last slide, just Landing.Jobs, how can we help? This is also important. We can help, and we have been helping a lot of companies do the movement to set up shop in Lisbon. We can help in a tech hiring, creating a brand or helping the brand of a company get more and more interesting tech talent. We can also work as employer of record to support workforce payments. And we also provide access to other things like visas, relocation, etc. And very important for companies that want to try before coming to Lisbon, we also help finding the temporary office rental for hiring and having the first team members that will be the seed for an eventually larger team in Portugal. So, and that's it. I'll not bug you anymore with the introduction. Let's skip to the panel. Joanna, can you put our guests back on?
Yes, working on it. Okay.
Please leave your comments, place questions. You have an Ask a Question feature underneath that you can not just put questions, but also upvote other people's questions. And we'll make sure that we try to reserve some space for the Q&A to open the discussion to a broader audience. So to you all, of course. Okay, so we have everyone already?
No, we're still waiting for Diogo. He's trying to connect. Yeah.
Murphy's Law. It's always the same thing. Well, but I think we can start with Marcus, Dalia, and Noom. So I have presented you both, but if you can give us brief presentation about yourself, your company, your role, whatever you want for us to start. Marcus, you're on this part of my screen, so can you start, please?
Happy to start. Thank you very much. But usually ladies first, so we can do it. So ladies first. Yeah, I'll let you go first. Okay.
Oh, you're gonna let me go first. Okay. So I'm Dalia Turner. I am the VP of People here at Feedseye, which is a company that uses big data and artificial intelligence to help financial institutions manage financial risk. I am obviously not Portuguese, but I have been living in Lisbon in Portugal for the last 6 years. I'm Canadian originally. Okay.
So Marcus, please.
Okay. No,
you have been very graceful, so you take the second part.
Thank you, Peter. So my name is Marcus. I'm 50 years old. I'm in Lisbon since last year, September. I'm setting up the operations for Enphone's Nearshore Research and Development Center here. And I'm very glad to be here. It's an exciting time. I'm now 6 years with our company Enphone. Enphone is a cloud business company. We do cloud telephony, cloud communication services, a pure SaaS business. We are one of the leading players in the European market, in this disruptive market, moving businesses from traditional telephony and communication service into the new world, into the cloud-based environments of telephony and communications. And we have businesses in 15 countries with people offices there. And last year, we selected Lisbon to be our new home for our research and development center. We are very happy to be here, and glad as well to have this opportunity to talk here and share some insights and views with you guys. So thank you for the invite.
Thank you, Marcus. Nuno, can you go next?
Okay, yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Nuno Calleia. I work in Lisbon Municipality Bureau of Economy and Innovation. I'm head for research and foresight. Well, about the organization, I will not say much. I would like to talk more about the city, and therefore we'd like to focus on all the things that the city is doing or needs to do or wants to do in the near future in order to be the best place to work from and the best place to work in. So welcome everyone, and I'm looking forward for this, and thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome also. Diogo, last one.
Okay, thank you for the invitation. My name is Diogo. I'm a project director at Invest Lisboa. Invest Lisboa is the investment promotion agency of the city of Lisbon. We are a partnership between the municipality of Lisbon and the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, so we are a public-private organization. We were created to support startups, support investors, support companies that are thinking about Lisbon. Does Lisbon make sense for their next move? And we support them by providing information and all they need for a better informed decision. But then we keep on supporting, implementing these ideas in Lisbon, trying to help and to be useful. Mainly, we are like an operational branch of the city to make things happen.
Right. Thanks, Dio. So I have a couple of questions here, or more than a couple. So let's start with the first one. So to start the discussion, do you think there's a trend for international companies to create tech teams abroad? And if yes, what causes do you think are driving this trend, in your opinion? So I would start with Dalia, that has international and national experience. Dalia, can you go first?
Definitely. I think more than companies are exploring opportunities in different places. I think it was already happening prior to COVID, but I think that COVID and, everyone having to work remotely, being able to see that, work can be done pretty much from anywhere, has really opened up the large majority of companies, particularly in the tech space, to realize that you can have your workforce located anywhere. So now looking for those locations where you have great technical talent available, the language capabilities, etc., is definitely something that you're seeing. And when we think about, Portugal and Lisbon in particular, there are a lot of companies coming here because of all the reasons you talked about in your introduction. There is great talent available here. It is a great climate. There is a low cost of living. It's a really, really easy sell for tech companies who are looking for a new great place to be going.
But you have an interesting position in that you are part of a Portuguese company that is at most opening tech centers in other countries, right?
Yes.
So it's a great standpoint, because you have the experience of, for example, not why to open, but why to keep tech centers in Portugal. In a sense,
we have both. Yeah, we're growing here, as well as exploring what are the other places that may exist out there that are as great as Lisbon for talent.
Okay, Dio, can we go next with you? What do you think? Sure. Do you think that there's a trend for this creation of tech centers and hiring teams abroad? In your perspective?
I would say there is. From our experience, I've been working at Invest Lisboa for 10 years now, so I have a very long sense of the development, the evolution of why Lisbon was attracting companies, and I got these insights from companies that decided to invest in Lisbon and stay in Lisbon, and I always ask, why Lisbon? And the answers had been changing. At first, 10 years ago, it was pretty much cost-driven. So Lisbon was perceived, or Portugal was perceived ever as a low-cost destination.
Yeah.
And the first question they ask is how much it costs, how much it is. That was a long time ago. Now, for some years now, the main driver that's been attracting companies has to do with talent availability. Of course, all factors are important, but this global competition for tech talent started many years ago, and it's increasing. And Lisbon, by the chance of nature, but also by the policies that were implemented and all the programs that were created, has become a very attractive location for companies, because Lisbon is attractive for people. It's a great place to be, and people want to be here, and companies are coming after them. I would say nowadays this reflects very strongly in the tech sector, which is where the competition for talent is stronger. So Lisbon has been very strong in attracting tech talent. Of course, the talent, and I don't want to put everything on the first.
Don't please. Let's give the space for the rest of the conversation.
Yes. So of course, talent is not the only factor. It's a group of things, but I would say if I had to mention one, talent driven is the main focus. It's the main reason.
Okay. And Marcus, you have a perspective of an international company, so it's not by serendipity that you decide, okay, let's start opening tech centers abroad, right? There must have been some reasons to follow this path. Regarding your perspective, what you know, both from Anfon and the rest of the remaining experience that you have, what do you think are the main drivers behind this trend?
I mean, so for us, of course, when we started, we looked at several places. So we, as you already said, we did not wake up in the morning and said, okay, now we want to start up in Lisbon. So we looked at several countries, and many reasons have already been discussed and mentioned here. So it's, of course, the availability of tech talent. It's the cost-value ratio. I need to say the quality, not only the cost and the availability, it's also the quality of the people that we get. And this is a point I would like to stress even more, because we now have hired 2 teams already. And what I can see over the last 5-6 months is the way the eagerness to really dive into a problem, to really slice it and then work on it, and even then basically stay longer or work in the evening or work then from home. And so I think this eagerness, this working attitude, this ethic, that's actually what I think is really one factor that actually companies should consider. Of course, you can only experience it when you're here, but even before. So if companies want to decide, okay, do I open up my center more in other parts of the European continent or here? I mean, they should probably spend some time and talk to other companies, because this is, I think, one of the key factors that convinces us and our management team in Anfon to put more investments here and to grow our business here in Lisbon more and more, because it's the quality, the eagerness, the problem solving, the mindset, and of course access as well to universities to get some students for master thesis and so on. So these are factors and reasons that convinced us.
But let me rephrase my question before going to Nuno. But what were the reasons that drove Anfon to start to expand, to create tech centers? It was lack of local talent, it was high costs of talent, it was need for other kinds of talent, for example.
We are a tech company, and of course, most of our R&D is currently still in Germany, and it will very likely be. But to find tech talent there, so in terms of availability, in terms of cost, in terms of an onboarding, and there are many blue chip companies. So Anfon is still a small fish in this pond, so to say, and it's hard to get some. I mean, we have all the big blue chips companies in the German market. You have the Americans who come over there. If it's not only always Google and Apple and many others, it makes it hard for us. And so we looked at, as I said, other places, and then Lisbon was one of the places. So and for us, a reason was as well access, so logistics, to be as close as possible to travel within half a day. So there are flights every day and several times a day, and to not land at an airport somewhere and then drive 4 hours, land at the airport, and within half an hour you're at the office. So, and these are reasons that, in my eyes and our eyes, basically then selected us for Lisbon.
Let me say that it's very interesting because my question has to do with the causes for creating tech dreams. And one of the success things that I see about Lisbon as this destination, you are always going to the why we have chosen Lisbon. You don't even talk a lot about the why do I look to the world before that. But that's great, that's amazing. No, really, we are very successful in getting people to sell ourselves. Just joking a bit, but no, regarding according to your research and all the information that you have, what do you think, making the question again, are the main causes driving nowadays this migration, this search of international companies for other locations to get the talent that they need?
For the studies that we have done and the people we have talked to, and in here we have an amazing set of people to do that. And we'll see. We have the Landing.Jobs itself as a startup, and a startup that was born in this. When we have Feedzai, we have Anfon, we have very different companies, and we may share very different experiences. And I believe that creative force is one of the driving forces for companies. Even in tech companies. There was once upon a time when we talked about creativity, we talked about cultural companies and cultural sectors. Today we don't do that anymore. Creativity is part of the seeds of growth for every company, and creativity is based on diversified talent, not only talent but diversified talent. And therefore, I think it's very logical that companies look forward to go to different spots, trying to look for a more diversified base of creativity force inside the company. And that means that companies will probably might think that they should do the experience of opening here and opening there and trying to connect dots all over the world. Because if a company wants to be global, they need to, if a company wants to be global, if a company is driven by consumer experience, they need to have a global force inside them. They need to have a global labor force. Therefore, trying to answer to all the differences, to all the thises and that's of the different cultures they are selling to. Saying this, the impulse to go abroad, the impulse to get connected with people from very different countries is there. But the other thing is that that is important is that once you decide that you might go abroad, that you might open a different branch, we need to be on that. That's usually the hard part of Diogo's job. We need to be on that short list, and we need to say that Lisbon is one of the places where you should think of when trying to go abroad, and then people decide. Yeah, of course, decisions will be a lot of them. We usually, of course, we congratulate ourselves with the decision of a company that wants to come to Lisbon. We don't see that as a defeat, the decision of a company that wants to go everywhere else, because it's not like that. We don't win and lose every day. It's the thing is, for us, we lose something if the company doesn't even think about Lisbon as a place to be. If that opportunity doesn't come up, well, that's a problem. Somehow we fail to be on a short list of someone. But I believe that companies want to get focused on your question again and not getting lost on others. To focus on your question, I think that a company that wants to be global and a company that is based on some creativity engine considers to have branches in different parts of the world, and to be connected with labor force in different parts of the world. And I believe that's a little bit the driving force for going global. Of course, everything is subject to costs. and subject to effort. Of course, that if the effort is too large, if the cost is too large, if the distance is too long, if everything is too far away, of course, then we have to reconsider again, and then the other aspects come through. But I believe that these are probably, from the companies that we have talked to and from the experiences that we have followed, these are probably the main driving force. Why in tech companies? Well, because I believe that that's one of the most powerful, creative, recent growth is in the tech sector. There was a time where the tech sector was mainly seen as a thing of bits and bytes, a thing of having all the same employee profile, the one who likes to do stuff on computers and programming and things like that. But today, I believe creativity is much more important in that branch of business, and therefore that's probably why locations are exploding everywhere with new tech centers.
Yeah. That's a very interesting perspective on the thing about creativity as a force that is sought for by international tech companies, because I share your opinion. But I would like to ask Marcos and Dalia, probably starting with Dalia. Do you kind of agree with this? So because the question about initially, as has been said, about, okay, let's go search for lower costs, but nowadays people are looking to increase revenues probably more than just lowering costs, and that increasing revenues come from competition, differentiation, etc., etc. Do you agree with this? And if you do or not, I was going to skip. I had this was my last question, but Nuno mentioned it. I want to go. What do you see are the differences in terms of, I don't know, culture, work, knowledge, etc., between Portuguese tech talent and tech talent from other places? Because from my experience, there are a great many deal of differences in terms of the ways that people work in different places. Can you talk a bit about that, Dalia?
Sure. So I agree and disagree. So I agree that by going to different locations, you absolutely gain in diversity, and in gaining diversity, you get diversity of thought, which increases creativity and all of those things. I'm not sure that companies think of that as the primary reason why they're looking to go somewhere else. I think that it's one of those things that comes with it, and one of the advantages of having multiple locations. So that's why I agree that it is definitely a benefit. I'm not sure that it is a main driver. I think back on all of the experiences where we've gone into new places, cost or the ability to find a really strong technical community have been the primary drivers. So where we currently are, it's becoming too difficult to find talent. Let's go somewhere where it might be easier. Or we really need to focus on our margins. Therefore, let's go find a place that may be equally or less expensive. I think that those might be more on the higher end of the reasons, but
more of a consequence than a cause.
It's one of the benefits.
Okay.
In terms of what you get from Portugal tech talent versus others, I'm going to echo what Marcus talked about earlier. One of the things, okay, so the technical talent in Portugal is very strong, but I also agree that the work ethic of the Portuguese is incredibly strong. So they do like going the extra mile. They do like, take pride in their work. They do, want to solve problems, and will spend, if you get them interested in a problem, they will spend as long as it takes to figure out how to solve that problem. Work-life balance is always a challenge. It becomes even more so with some of the men that come there. Having said that, there are, when you start thinking about the Portuguese working with other teams, they are very, 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 Portuguese can be very subtle in how they give and receive feedback. Meaning that if you have a very forward North American or very direct, Dutch or German colleague who comes in and says, I don't think you're doing this very well, meaning it in the nicest of ways, the Portuguese can take that to heart, and find that person a little bit hard and a little bit brash. Similarly, as they try to give feedback out, it can sometimes be, but I gave him feedback. I'm like, well, what did you say? I said that I thought that he should work a little bit harder, and it's very, very subtle. So the needs to be able to work with both sides to understand how they work together is super important.
Interesting. Marcus, what's your take on this?
Thank you, Dalia, because I think it's important. This is what we found out, and I experienced actually the last couple of days. But coming to the first part of your question, creativity, yes, of course, but it's even more the point. If you don't have the people and you cannot start your projects and you cannot do and run and build and basically launch a project, you have nothing. There's no revenue. I mean, yes, of course, you need creative people and you need to build the environment and basically give the right impulses to stimulate creativity. And as much as I value and I love the Portuguese colleagues, I think creativity you can also get in other parts of the world. It's not only something that we find here in Portugal. And I hope no one gonna now start with some bad news about this. I think that it's more like the availability, get the teams together, get this team bonding, and get going and get started. And this is for especially startup companies, young companies that really are in a disruptive environment. And of course, you face a competition with really big mega companies. Then it's just crucial to start with your projects. So we experienced this as well in our company. So not having been able to start a project for 2 years just puts you basically in the backseat. And this is something what you need to do. So this is, I think, why and how and the availability of people that we found here. The second part is, to build the culture, to build the environment so that they can grow, that they can prosper, that they can strive for that. And of course, this is about communication, about having a clear vision, a clear direction, and then ensure that they work collaborative with the other parts of the company. So in daily meetups, for example, or dailies in the mornings, and these cross-functional teams that we probably have across all tech companies here with the headquarters. So build the environment, build the sort of second home for them, build a home for them that they really love to come to have to work, to celebrate, to really dive into bigger topics, solve the problems they have, they run into it, and and then be able to launch those projects and as well celebrate success. I think is very important. And the first project that you finish, then the second, and then you gain more and you gain this momentum. And I think this is important.
But let me ask you a straight question. It's a generic one, so don't mind about the answer. What do, for example, if you were to say, what would be in more anecdotal terms, the big differences between a German developer and Portuguese developer? This is more curiosity from my side, of course. Let's joke a bit about it around.
Probably they spend more time on the beach, Or
the German or the Portuguese?
I mean, probably the Portuguese. What's the main difference? I mean, you have diversity. You have different environments, different languages. Maybe the development methodology. So Scrum, Agile is everywhere the same. So it's I think it's. Here, what I experience when I look at the guys here is, but it's the same for the German guys. So the problem solving, the attitude, the ethic, and to really get something done, create an impact, and come and join a company. And when they're young, probably they have a sort of average lifetime between 3 and 4 years, some less, some more, depends. But when they come to a certain stage after the third or fourth employer, they like to stay longer, and then I think it's more important they're more careful in the selection. So who's the company, how does it work, what kind of environments does it provide in terms of training, personal development, and I think this all matters. And so basically from a tech point of view, so far I don't think that there are too many differences.
Okay, great. Okay, so now let's go for the part that I think it's easier, and I'll start with Noon. Noon, according to your experience again, What do you think are the main advantages, not only in the beginning but also in the end, of Lisbon as a possible destination, as a tech hub for an international company? And I would please ask you to be really, one or two just for us to be able to go over everyone and try to get some diversity also from the answers. If you were to pinpoint, the two biggest, largest reasons for people to decide, not to consider we have talked a bit about it, but to decide setting up shop in Lisbon, what would you say those were? You're mute, Nuno.
Sorry, but
No,
after getting back to the office is getting a little bit louder too. So sometimes we have to mute the micro. We're not alone anymore. Well, let me put it this way. I think that in the end, what we learn in school and what we learn in practice, that in the end is always an emotional bond. We're going to decide. Somehow an emotional bond was made. That's why I opened a company in the city I have born in. Sometimes where I'm in love with. Sometimes that I am connected with. That emotional bond is something that is very hard to put in one or two factors. And in the end of it, I'm not sure that we can say that it's because of this or because of that.
No, of course.
Saying that, let's go to our other side of the brain, and let's go to science and math, and we talk about probabilities, and most of the cases are connected with. And saying that, I think that of course when we talk about people, when we talk with people about the main assets of the city and the main assets of Portugal, a lot of them comes with something that we might call environment. Let's talk about the weather. Let's talk about the sun. Let's talk about the being a nice place to be in, feeling good, being in that place. When I say environment, it's in that broad sense. I'm not talking about green and brown and yellow. The environment, I think it's one aspect. That's not the reason to choose a place. That's a reason to choose a place between different places. When they are all tied up in different in many other things, then we can untie them with some factor like that. Okay, that's not. It might be a decisive factor if everything else is remain equal. Because on the other end, you have the cost-benefit analysis, and therefore I believe that the talent is one strong issue in the cost-benefit analysis. It's not saying that the talent is better here than everywhere else, or saying that the talent is cheaper here than it's cheaper somewhere else, but because we will always find a place where we can contradict what you just said. But in the overall analysis, sometimes, and that's probably why companies decide when they decide to stay in. Sometimes doing the cost benefit, the talent has been a major issue because of what people can do and on the circumstances that they do it. So I believe that's a balance, and I'll put environment and talent as the two issues. But saying that, of course, there are hundreds of places in the world where you can find great environments, and there are hundreds of places in the world where you can find great talent. So it's not, and that's probably why there are hundreds of places in the world where you find companies. So that's not to say that it's just one location only. But I think that these issues are the issues that was, well, we also have somehow biased perspective on this, because usually as a municipality, when we look about location factors, we always try to pay deeper attention to those factors that we can work on, and pay less attention to the factors that we have nothing to be done. Okay, so I would not say latitude and longitude, because we can't change that. That's the latitude and longitude for Lisbon. Stop. We can't say nothing more about it. But those kind of factors are factors that we work on. We can work on the environment, we can work on the talent, we can try to promote more talent and more talented people. And for those who was not accompanying, was not following the data on the city, let me just say two things. The amount of people with higher education in the city labor force in 20 years has more than doubled. And today we have more than 1/3 of the labor force with higher education. The amount of foreigners living inside the city, people with long-term visa, has growth for more than 80% in just 3 or 4 years. And 80% is a lot to grow to. So therefore, we can see that the city is changing at a high speed and a high pace. And when we say that talent is a very important issue, we are not saying that because it's right on papers and books and it's something poetic to say. It's because it's something that we can really work hard on in order to improve and in order to try to follow the major demand force.
Okay, great. Diogo, in your opinion, the one or two factors that you think are the most fundamental ones when a company decides or not to set up shop in Lisbon?
Okay, so I would. There are 3 boxes that include lots of arguments or lots of different situations, but 3 main boxes that usually are the main considerations a company have, and Lisbon has some very important, very interesting offers to each of these boxes. One is are there resources available for what I need? In resources, I would include, of course, the infrastructure, technological infrastructure. Is the location equipped with the technological infrastructure I need for my company? In this case, in tech companies, it's a lot to do with the tech, the internet infrastructure, and talent also. So Lisbon, when they decide for Lisbon, they analyze if they have this kind of resources available. The second big box that usually is important is how complex things are. It's about risk analysis. And Lisbon, of course, like many cities, has some issues that are need to be worked, but mainly in general, it's a very easy place to set up. For startups, has 18 incubators, has a very interesting and dynamic ecosystem that makes it easier for companies that set up here to immediately grow into the community. It's a very open and collaborative community. So companies and entrepreneurs that decide to move to Lisbon, they have a lot of support systems from the community, from the city, from the government, and that makes also a good argument and a good decision and a reason for deciding. The third big box is something that we have already mentioned, has to do with costs, because every company has a spreadsheet and they do, of course, their
a lot of them.
Sorry?
A lot of spreadsheets.
A lot of spreadsheets. And I mentioned that 10 years ago they only talked about costs if Lisbon was low cost. Now they talk a lot of the resource part. Is there talent available? But cost is of course very important, and Lisbon is still a very cost efficient location. I'm not saying low cost on purpose, because I think there are in Europe other options that are cheaper. But for the quality that you get here, the investment you make buys much more quality in Lisbon than other locations. You can have the same quality as other locations. I don't want to say big names in Europe, but they're the big cities in Europe. But you can buy much more with the same amount of money, and that cost efficiency is also important for companies to decide. That's the 3 main boxes, and I would add a third box, which has to do with the quality of living, of course, because especially when the decision maker is the one that's moving in, and it's also in sectors where the competition for their staff and the well-being of the staff is important for the company. The location, the quality of the location is also a very important factor for the success of the project. And Lisbon has, as everybody knows, it's a very good offer that's free for companies that set up here. We have the wonderful city, the wonderful weather, the very dynamic location. You have all the advantages of a European capital in a very manageable, easy to move around city, and you can offer that to your employees with almost it's a perk that you can offer without making any special investment. So that is also I think these 3+1 reasons are the main reason why Lisbon is so attractive and so interesting for companies.
Great, Diogo, thank you. We're finishing the end of this session. We have around 8 minutes, something like that. And I would like to finish this with a request to Marcus and Dalia. If you would have to give an advice to a company that were considering or had already decided to come to Lisbon, taking into account your own experience, what would be your main advices and tips to those persons? Dalia, can you go first?
I'll let Marcus go first.
Okay.
That's a good one. Okay, thank you, Dalia. Okay, I think they should have and come here with a very clear vision, what they want to set up here, how they want to achieve it, and how to wanna basically keep the people. So getting the people, what differentiates you from all the other players in the market? Yeah, how can you create an environment that makes them to love it and to enjoy it? Yeah, and to stay. And and the third point probably is make sure that you have a very good collaboration with your headquarters. So I think the support from the headquarters, so that they don't feel as a satellite office, because what I have come across in the last couple of months is that some companies open up here, but it feels like a satellite office, yeah. And it should be like that. So they need to be part of this larger international organization, really being embedded into this whole processes, organizational flow. And I think this is important. So, and for that, I think you need someone here, feet on ground, who supports that, who knows the access to the headquarters, to the different departments. And I think this helps, especially the local people here, to feel home and to feel comfortable in these new organizations.
What can I ask you, what have you felt was your, I was going to say the biggest challenge, but probably I'll rephrase it to the most important challenge when you have come to Portugal, you and FON?
It's, of course, we came last year in the middle of the world's largest pandemic. So of course it was a different environment here. The challenge was to as well to get known, because of course people usually don't know NFON. Hopefully now more people know NFON. Point number one, and to inspire people, who we are, what we do, and we actually did that very successfully, so that we could have now already 2 teams working and with more on the onboarding. So we achieved that, but I think it's really a challenge, and sharing this with other companies, some of them or most of them confirmed that.
Okay. Dalia, can you elaborate a bit on this, if you want, of course?
I can.
Your experience a bit different because there was already an office in Portugal, of course.
Yeah. But I'll share my advice based on conversations. And obviously, this is going to be a very HR answer. I'm a very HR person. But I was speaking with a company that is looking to join here, and I gave very practical advice. When you're talking to candidates and talking about their expectations, you really need to go beyond what salary are you expecting, because in Portugal, there is not one answer when they give you an answer. Someone may be giving you a net answer, someone may be giving you a gross answer, someone may be giving you a monthly, someone may be giving you an annually. You have to know all the other things to be able to put together that comprehensive offer. So not just knowing what do you want, but what does your candidate want, because it's such There's a lot of talent. They have very strong expectations on what they want. But if you don't get that conversation right about what their expectations are, you can lead to disappointment. And unfortunately, you can damage your brand originally as you come in. And then you have to reestablish it depending on, who you've spoken with. So.
Yeah. Okay, so we have 2 questions from the audience. I'm going to ask the first one to Marcus and Dalia. And the first one is, if I want to apply for a job in Lisbon, should I have to relocate to Lisbon? I am in Algarve in this case. Is this thing about, having an office, for example, in Lisbon, make you also only hire people in Lisbon, or are you also open to hiring people that work probably remotely most of the time from other regions in the country? Marcus or Dalia, whatever.
If I go first, sorry, Dalia. Of course, there's not a problem. So if someone is from Viseu or from Coimbra or Algarve, we have here our office in Lisbon, but it's not a requirement that they need to relocate. We support the relocation as a company, but there's no clear requirement for them to move to Lisbon.
Okay, and you, Dalia, what's your take?
I would say that more and more that is the answer that most tech companies are providing. There are many tech companies that are still, wanting their employees to be within a certain distance of an office, but more and more, and I mean, Feedzai is one of them. We're open to talent wherever they happen to be in Portugal. You may have on your contract that you're linked to a specific office. I mean, we have 3 offices and we typically pick the closest one. But the expectation isn't that they're coming into the office 4 or 5 days a week.
Okay. Well, good thing is that Portugal is a small country, so you can get in 4 hours everywhere. So that's good. The second question, it's more for Nuno and for Diogo. It's about Lisbon, how friendly it is. Can you cycle safely to work? Can you push your baby stroller with no problems, or are sidewalks invaded by cars? So this is urban planning, right? But I would like to have your answer on this for the audience also. Nuno, please, if you can go first.
Okay. Well, let me take me back to my graduation side. I'm an economist, so I start every answer with depends. Well, it depends on many different factors. Let me put it this way. Yes, Lisbon is perceived as a safe city in a general term. It's a safe city. It's a city where people feel secure. By saying that, I'm not ignoring that there are sometimes situations where it isn't exactly like that, and ignoring that when we say that the city is a safe city, everybody feels safe 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, etc. But in a general sense, it is a safe city. As Marcos has probably experienced, we don't see a lot of cars in the sidewalks because of the pandemics. But if it wasn't for the pandemics, we would see much more of that. But we have been working hard in order to avoid it and to trying to make a city a more walkable city. And I believe that the investments speak for themselves. I'm not going through that way, but I'm saying that things are changing in attitude, and I believe that the attitude is the key issue here. People are getting getting more used to walk around the city, to live in a shortest range city. The 15-minute city, if you want to talk about it, or the short cycle city, and I believe that the pandemics brought us more awareness of that, more awareness of the importance of that. And I'm not talking about Lisbon; I'm talking about every city in the world. The awareness of the things that I can do on a 15 minutes basis, walking 15 minutes from here to there. It's a very important one. So I believe that 10, 15 years ago.
Oh, Nuno has stopped.
Okay. Shall I?
Yeah, please take on.
Okay. So I'm not an economist. I'm a biologist by training, but I work as a promoter. So I would, as a marketeer, more or less. So I would say Lisbon is very safe. It is the 3rd safest country in the world, Portugal, according to the World Peace Index. I've been, of course, it's a capital city of a European country, so of course there are locations that you shouldn't go at night with a pocket full of money, but in general it's very, very safe. It's as I mentioned, according to World Peace Index, the third safest country in the world, and I think I don't have any knowledge, personal knowledge of very violent or any problems of walking on the street any time of day. I feel very safe to have my 10 and 11, my 11 and 12-year-old kids walking on the streets. No, my worries is about being rushed over by cars, not about safety. The car on the sidewalk, I completely agree with Nuno. It's something that's changing very rapidly. The Lisbon is changing a lot. The cultural aspect of the car, owning a car, is changing a lot. But we are in the transitional phase, so there are advocates and people that don't like this change. Some area, now I'm going to be economist, it depends, of course. Some areas of the city have very small sidewalks, so it's difficult to walk.
That's also due to the roots of the city, because we have older neighborhoods who have that. But let me add, please, just making some publicity for the municipality. The bicycle tracks have increased hugely in the last years, and I'm a fierce user of it. And even the parking is much more disciplined since I don't know 5-6 years ago. So
yes, that was what I was saying as a lost connection.
When you froze,
Sometimes it's harder today. It's easier today not to find a car in the sidewalk. It's harder today not to find a bicycle in the sidewalk. So we have to work on both terms in order to go permanently safe. And I think yes, of course, if you have kids walking on the sidewalk, if you have people with some kind of disability or some kind of conditional movement, because to be conditioned on movement, it's not a physical thing. If you have 2 bags on one hand and 2 bags on the other, your movement is conditioned by something. So you need to have more space and you need to have more comfort in order to walk around. It's not something that you say some people depend on that and other people don't. To walk freely and comfortably in a city is something that touches everyone. And it's not just an issue for this and that. Saying that, I think that we can work on that, having a better infrastructure to walk on and having a better attitude and a better. But that's something that I believe it's at least at an European level, not to say more than that, for every city, because in every city we find traffic conflicts and between different transit modes everywhere.
I think the only big difference we have is in the very old neighborhoods, because Lisbon is a city that has, I don't know, 2,000 years, so it's very ancient areas.
Can I just pop in, because I do think it is an incredibly safe city. I've never felt challenged, walking around at any point. The one, and I do agree, the infrastructure has gotten much better. The one thing that I will just keep in mind, it is the city of hills, 7 hills, if I remember. So if you're going to bike to work, depending on where you live, you have to go down and up once or twice. So
you bless the electric engine.
Most ideal for biking, although around the river and stuff, that is wonderful. And from a walking, I always tell people women need wedges, don't wear high heels. If you're gonna have a baby buggy, it has to have big wheels, because we do have the cobblestones, which are super wonderful, but they do cause a little bit of a challenge say to change it, because it's part of what makes the city super lovely. So from safety, yes, but there are some things.
There are challenges.
It's a city of 7 hills because we stopped counting at 7.
Ah.
That's why people live so long in the old neighborhood. That's full of very old people because they have very good hearts. Because they are
exactly going up and down. Yeah. So it is wonderful to wander around. It's beautiful, but yeah.
Electrical bikes and no high heels.
Exactly.
Okay, guys, we need to finish. It has been a pleasure. Dalia, Marcus, Nuno, and Diogo, thank you very much for your participation. I know it has been a great session. This session will be available afterwards for everyone who wants to watch it. So please watch it, share it. We hope it can bring some more information for everyone who's interested in the topic. And I hope to see you all soon. For everyone that has watched, thanks a lot. We hope we have fulfilled your expectations, and have a great day and keep watching sessions in Semana de Empreendedorismo de Lisboa. Thank you all.
Thank you, Pedro. Thank you very much, darling.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.